Spotify is struggling to sell audiobooks, and it is blaming Apple. Bear in mind, though, that Spotify only introduced audiobooks last month, but it is calling Apple anti-competitive and accuses the company of choking competition. This is in a blog post that went live shortly before Spotify released its earnings report. Join us as we try to split fact from fiction, and also look at the two very different approaches of these two companies. Keep watching. First up, why the accusation? It's all about Apple's rules, it would seem. Spotify says it's the rules and red tape that Apple employs that make buying an audiobook on Spotify too confusing and complicated. Spotify also accuses Apple of changing its own rules when and how it wants, and of making those rules nigh impossible to interpret. Additionally, a 30% commission on app purchases listed in the App Store goes straight to Apple. This bars developers from directing users to external payment processors. Daniel E. Kay, the Spotify CEO, says Apple has time and again shown it is not interested in self-regulation and that it has no incentive to change the way it works. In a moment, we'll show you that Spotify has taken on Apple before. Keep watching. So why did Apple reject the Spotify app? Spotify made a webpage to support its cause. According to this page, their proposed purchasing process for audiobooks was rejected by Apple 3 times. This is because it didn't comply with the App Store's policies. Adam Dima, a spokesperson for Apple, said the Spotify app was rejected because it didn't follow guidelines regarding in-app communication to users outside of the app, specifically to make purchases. Apple said explicitly that it has no problem with apps adding audiobook content, linking users to websites for opt-ins, or sending users communications about external or alternative purchase options. Spotify doesn't show users its audiobook prices, and also doesn't allow users to buy content in the app. This is to comply with Apple rules. The alternative process is to select a book and then follow an email link sent to you by Spotify. This link allows you to check out your potential purchase on the web. This process is cumbersome, to say the least. It harms consumers, according to Spotify, but also hampers publishers and authors who suddenly find themselves under some kind of Apple control. Now, this is not the first time Spotify has bumped heads with Apple. In 2019, Spotify filed an antitrust case against Apple in Europe. They claimed the 30% Apple tax was harming consumer choice. They claimed that Apple had no interest in self-regulation and that change will only happen with some kind of government intervention. And with the Spotify audiobook launch, Daniel E. Kay, Spotify's CEO, again released a statement lamenting how brazen Apple is willing to be with App Store rules and how they remorselessly shift the goalposts to make sure their competitors remain at a disadvantage. The purchasing process could be infinitely easier on Spotify if they used the in-app purchase system Apple offers, but then they would have to pay Apple's 30% commission, and this would make it impossible for Spotify to compete with Apple. In a few moments, we're going to do a head-to-head comparison between Spotify and Apple Music. Keep watching. Meanwhile, here is Apple's take. Adam Dima, an Apple spokesperson, made a statement in response to these Spotify claims. He said the App Store was designed from the get-go to be a solid business opportunity for all kinds of developers, and that they support initiatives aimed at the introduction of new features 100%. He added that a constant flow of new features adds lasting value for users. He also said Spotify was provided with clear step-by-step guidance on ways to resolve the issues about getting the Spotify app listed in the App Store. And once those changes were made and the app was brought into compliance, it was immediately approved. So let's compare Spotify and Apple Music. If an alternative music service is on your horizon, then Apple Music and Spotify will probably be the two you'll look at. We thought we'd put the two in a head-to-head showdown to compare which one will be best suited for your unique requirements. Keep watching. We have some interesting comparisons coming your way. We're going to look at what separates Apple Music's content from Spotify. Stay with us. First, let's compare the packages. The price of Apple Music and Spotify is surprisingly similar, but there is one big and noteworthy difference. Spotify will let you start for free. On the free option, however, your listening will be interrupted by commercial messages. The premium tier, when you upgrade, will have none of that and offers you pure music pleasure. In addition, Spotify will let you have a premium duo package if you want. This is a tier aimed at 2-person homes and includes an auto-produced list of tunes based on your listening habits. It's a great way to discover new music. Spotify calls this the Duo Max. If you sign up for an Apple Music plan, annual, you're in for a rather arcane experience. You have to get a monthly plan first, and then you have to go through your device account to switch to annual billing. And if you're not sure how to do this, you have to meander over to Apple's support site. Apple prices have also just gone up. They ascribe this new structure to increased licensing costs, and they're quick to add that songwriters and artists will also earn more as a result. If you buy an individual Apple Music subscription, it will set you back around $11 per month. If you're a student, you'll pay around $6 per month. Spotify's student offering is $5 per month. But bear in mind that prices fluctuate, and new offers see the light all the time. Check the platforms to get the latest. Now, Spotify versus Apple Music. Apple Music was initially focused on time-exclusive album launches, but in 2017, they admitted that labels don't seem to be too taken by this approach. Spotify's exclusive content is mainly its podcasts. The overlap between the services is immense as far as music content is concerned. This should be a technical win for Apple, but bear in mind, unless your taste is particularly eclectic, you're likely to find your artist or song on either platform or both. Coming up shortly is why Apple Music's Cloud Locker is a game changer. Stay with us. Next, Spotify versus Apple Music sound quality. The quality standard on Apple Music used to be 256 kilobits per second, ACC. This is the same format you buy tracks from iTunes in. However, the entire Apple Music catalog was updated last year, and it is now available in CD quality 16-bit 44.1 kHz, up to high-res audio 24-bit 192 kHz quality. On Spotify, you can stream songs at three rates: 320 kilobits per second, 160 kilobits per second, and 96 kilobits per second. Everything is in the OGG Vorbis format, and the highest quality is reserved for premium subscribers. The Spotify Hi-Fi tier is delayed at present, but when it launches, it should level the playing field. At present, though, Apple Music's lossless format has Spotify against the ropes. So, lossless content is better with wired headphones than Bluetooth units, and this will apply to both Apple and Spotify for some time to come. Because Apple Music applies the lossless format across the board, it takes the pole position in this part of the shootout too. Then, Apple Music versus Spotify in the Cloud Locker category. The jackpot for Apple Music is the iCloud library. It is accessed through iTunes, and users can get to their collection of tracks in full ACC 256 kilobit per second, wherever they find themselves, provided they sign in with the relevant Apple ID. Spotify, by comparison, will let you listen to your MP3 files within their app. The iCloud feature is just too good to ignore. Apple is the winner here. Watch to the end to find out how Spotify's availability compares to Apple Music. Also, the browser playback comparison between the two. It is no longer necessary to install iTunes to access Apple Music. This is a huge improvement. You can now listen to your Apple Music tracks through your browser, just like you can with Spotify. You have complete browser access to the complete libraries of both services. You can play made-for-you content or access your playlists. In this case, the contest in this category ends in a fair draw. Finally, a comparison between Spotify and Apple Music's availability. It has been a core focus of both services over the past couple of years to widen their availability. In addition to the traditional devices, PCs, Macs, tablets, and phones, Spotify will now let you play your content through game consoles too. Apple CarPlay is an automotive solution for Apple Music, and it also supports HomePod, in addition to Apple TV 4K and the Apple Watch. But if you're a Windows user, you'll still need to download iTunes to get full access to the entire content library. Spotify also has smartwatch compatibility. Fitbit and Garmin, Samsung, and Google Wear OS wearables are included. Spotify is also focusing more and more on offline listening, so these compatibilities are great to have. Spotify has the edge on this one, and mostly this is because Apple Music's lossless content is iffy through wireless headphones and speakers because of Bluetooth limitations. But this could change very shortly. Look, both of these services offer extensive libraries and a whole plethora of wins. Although the question currently is about file types and lossless music quality, the playing field is about to level yet again. Apple Music has a huge pedigree behind it, and with Spotify hitting 195 million paid subscribers, it is a force to be reckoned with. Now, it's just a wait and see to find out if they can resolve their differences. That's it for this video, folks. Make sure to keep your eyes open for our next upload.